Hi, I'm Mike Hulvey, President and CEO of the RAB, and welcome to Radio on Main Street, the podcast that's all about radio. Earlier this year, we attended the NAB Show in Las Vegas. During a 5-day period, we enjoyed the conversation and the camaraderie of over 55,000 attendees, 1,100 exhibitors, many sessions, engagements, individual and otherwise, really focused on the current state of the industry as well as what was happening in the future. During that time, I also had the opportunity to sit down with thought leaders from the industry, and we talked about their plans for the future, how they were collaborating with the RAB, and what they saw as transformation for the business. I want to thank Inco and Benstown, our partners, as they allowed us to bring the Radio on Main Street podcast booth to the NAB exhibit show yet again this year. What you're going to hear over the next several weeks are interviews that we conducted from that podcast booth. Here in the 5th episode of our series, we hear a conversation that I had with Greg Davis Jr. He's Vice President and Market Manager at Davis Broadcasting. Greg, along with his sister Janice Granville, are second-generation broadcasters following their great father, Greg Davis Sr., in the footsteps that he laid into the broadcasting business. In this conversation, you will hear about the origins of the family business, as well as the evolution of it over the past 39 years.
And I am thrilled to be joined in our Inco stage by Greg Davis Jr., just left his dad here a few minutes ago. And Greg, welcome. And you have to admit, the technology, this is high tech, this is cool.
Mike, I've never seen anything like this. I'm used to radio. I'm not used to this. This is different for me, but I love it.
This is radio with pictures. That's what this is.
Absolutely.
You know, on our main Radio on Main Street podcast. Now, full disclosure, we are walking through the main aisle here at the NAB with Greg, and he goes, "There's video?" I didn't know this was going to be video. It's audio and video. But I appreciate you being here, and we're going to spend a few minutes together talking about your story, giving us an update on Davis Broadcasting in Atlanta. We just rolled out, as we are recording this podcast, from a terrific session, literally standing room only.
It was packed.
It was on the issue of digital sales. So, first of all, how are things going?
You know, everything is going great. I can't complain. You know, to be in business, this year we celebrate 39 years of broadcasting. Super excited about that. Next year is our 40th anniversary, and I actually turned 42, so I always know how old the company is because it's always around my birthday. But, you know, just thankful to still be in business and to be able to continue to grow.
So you've got a junior on your name.
Yes.
And explain to our audience who your dad is.
Well, if I knew who he was, I'm just playing. No, I know who he is. So my dad, Greg Davis Sr., he started our company. We have had radio stations in multiple markets, including Columbus, Georgia, where we currently still are, in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Augusta, Georgia, as well as Atlanta, Georgia. And so now we have stations currently in just Columbus and Atlanta. So my dad, and I say my mom too, my mom was very instrumental in the beginning of the company as well. She still is a part of the business today. When we started, I'll tell you a funny story. So when we started, my dad had an opportunity to purchase a TV station in Columbus, Georgia. Crazy enough, the deal fell through. My dad had never worked in radio broadcasting before. Oh. He had actually worked for TV sales up in Michigan and in Ohio. And someone told him, they said, if you can do TV, you can do radio. And so he purchased a radio station, never having done radio broadcasting in his entire life. And, you know, it's been an amazing 39 years. I think for myself, growing up, we were always told what we were going to do from other people. My dad said, I'm never going to, force you to come into the business. This is always going to be your choice. And one of the things I loved about that is that I never felt that I had to make a decision that wasn't my decision. Mm-hmm. And so both my sister and I, we have decided to come into the business, and probably about 12 years ago. And it's been wonderful ever since. It's always great to work with family. Well, let me say always. It's often great to work with family, but it's an amazing opportunity.
Well, I've got to know your dad. I mean, this interview and discussion isn't about your dad, but I got to know your dad in service on the NAB board. Yes. I was the representative for the state of Indiana, and your dad, I think, was Georgia or
That's
South.
Correct.
Yeah,
Georgia.
the Georgia representative, and he and I would end up sitting together at meetings. We'd have discussions. We'd have dinner. And I loved your dad. I love your dad. I mean, I just like the way he goes about his business. I like the way he thinks.
Thank you.
And how proud he is to be in this business.
Yes.
And then I've gotten to know you and your sister, and it's a wonderful family. So
thank you.
from the outside in, please know that's something to be very proud of. And one of the things that I love about this story with you is, I mean, you're doing Main Street. This is the podcast, Radio on Main Street, but you're doing Main Street broadcast, Main Street service, Main Street community impact every day. Because if you don't, the business model doesn't work.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct. Absolutely. So, we have broadcasting stations in both Columbus and Atlanta, Georgia. So 2 totally different markets, right? And when I came to Atlanta, we've had 2 Spanish language stations for a little bit over 20 years now. And we brought in a new station in 2017, which is a smooth jazz station. So a lot of my focus has been on that station in Atlanta while also working with all of our properties. What I've learned is that the local skills that we've learned working in the Columbus market, they're very transferable over to Atlanta as well. Just kind of understanding people. And we just talked about it on the way over here. It's about relationships, but also it's about community activations and community service. We know that we can't be in the community and not work with the community. So it's very important for us to continue to do all the events that we do, not just in Columbus, but in Atlanta as well, that work with the community.
Yeah, and one of my questions is, why do people do business with you?
Well, we are thankful that we have had clients for many, many years. I'll be honest with you. I hope that it's because of the way that we do business. I tell a lot of our account executives that we may not have the frills that some of our competitors have. We may not have the new vehicles, the new equipment. We try to, stay up to date with the equipment, but what we do have is integrity. We have the ability to be honest, and we're not perfect. So if we make a mistake, it's to own up to our mistake, but also just work to drive results for our clients. And that has always been our focus. So our focus is to drive results for each person. And if we don't drive results, we can't be in business. And that means we got to do whatever we got to do to drive results.
So a lot of conversation here at NAB in the sessions, and you were a part of this, and that is the evolving opportunities that radio broadcasters have. I don't hide the fact that I am optimistic about our industry. I understand some of the challenges that we have. I absolutely do. But I also understand that we have unfair advantage in many ways against other traditional media. Like, our audience isn't going away. People still love radio. We have a tremendous reach. Using other tools and technologies, we're able to expand what we do and how we interact with communities and how we interact with our clients. And to me, that's all part of the unfair advantage, and that's why I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic. You say unfair advantage, I say fair.
Okay.
I say fair. What I love about radio is that it doesn't look the same as it did 40 years ago, but it's still here. And I think that as we continue to evolve as an industry, we have to understand that things don't have to look the same to still have the same impact or to have a greater impact. I love that we've found new ways to work with our community. Let me tell you one of the things we did 2 years ago. So we have an office in Atlanta, Georgia, where we had all 3 of our radio stations, our 2 Spanish language stations, as well as our smooth jazz station. Unfortunately, it was north of the city. We had the opportunity to create a satellite studio inside the city at the Russell Innovations Center for Entrepreneurs. And what that's done is that's created us a studio in the city, allow us to have access to interviews, but also every Sunday we do a Sunday Conversations where we highlight a new entrepreneur who's in the community, and it allows for us to be not just working with the community but in the community as well. So just try to find new ways to do the same business.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of our secret sauce, I think, as an industry. Yes. I mean, I know that's part of our secret sauce to do the industry. Absolutely. Okay, so put on your binoculars.
Okay.
I don't know if you can wear binoculars, but you can at least look downfield. And so look way down the field, and it's 2030. What do you see? What do you see in our space? What do you see in 2030? And it's okay to dream big.
Okay, so 2030. What I see is hopefully we have now continued the business, and hopefully we still have maybe another generation possibly within our company. What I also see is I think that things are going to look different. I think that people consume radio in multiple ways. I think we're going to find another way for people to consume radio. Recently, we saw more people do digital TV, video radio, right? So they'll take what they do on the air, they'll make it a video podcast, as we're doing now, and then they'll rebroadcast that out. That's what's happening now. I think there'll be a different way. And one of the things that we love about radio is that you don't have to have a physical radio to listen to us. You may have an Amazon or Google Home, and you say, hey, play WJZA. And by doing that, you're able to experience radio, but differently than what you did before. It's not just in the car. It's not just on your phone, but it's at home. It's everywhere you go. So,
I believe we've moved well past the idea that we cannot be platform agnostic. I mean, we must be platform agnostic. So it doesn't matter how you get it. To your point, it's Alexa. It's your dashboard. It's your phone. It's your tablet. It's the smart device in your kitchen. You can listen to your radio station on the microwave oven.
That's true. That's so true.
And what will that be in 2030? That was the idea behind asking you the question, what might it be? What is your phone going to look like in 2035? That's only 10 years ago. I mean, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
You think of 2015 as being yesterday. What's that device going to look like, and where are we going to be on it? Because we're going to be on it.
We're going to be on it. I want to make sure that as the industry continues to evolve, legislation moves with it. And so that we're all advocates to making sure that although we may evolve and have different platforms, but AM radio is also still very important. And so I know that that's very big right now as we're having these conversations in D.C. But I want to make sure that we don't let go of what has got us to where we are today. And that was AM radio, that was FM radio, and just learning how to evolve and not move away from it.
You serve on the Multicultural Committee of the RAB, and your family's been very supportive of RAB. Tony Coles is the chair, and one of the most, like your dad, just so thoughtful. I love how his brain works as well. I mean, just such a deep thinker. But there's challenges with the current political environment, in that space, and it's separating the reality of what a marketing solution is versus something else that it's not.
That's right.
And it's a concern.
It is a concern. There's some things that are in our control, and there are a lot of things that are not in our control. As an independent broadcaster, we have to focus on what we can control. The political environment is going to change every year, every 4 years. Can't do anything about that. We just continue to stay very rooted in our foundation, which is, doing business the right way. I honestly, and to understand what I love about the Multicultural Committee, I like to hear what other people are doing in other markets, because you can learn from so much from other people, and not just what they're doing right, but what they're doing wrong too. And I love the panel that we just left, because as I said earlier, we're not an expert in digital. There's a lot of room for growth, but I hope that whatever the mistakes that we made, that other people can learn from those, and we can all grow together.
We are going to be visiting with some students. The RAB is one of the things I'm so proud of. Erica Farber received an award earlier this week here at the show as we record our podcast, recognized by the BEA for all of her work in supporting the next generation of broadcasters.
Okay.
And the RAB this year at the show has almost 100 broadcast students that we've paid, and not the RAB is paid, but our members and members of the radio industry have paid to be here.
Right.
Which is tremendous. What do you say to the future of those employees and those future Gregs and the future Mikes? What do you say to those young people today? Let
me tell you, I think that is where we have the most opportunity, is to be able to have those conversations with students. I tell you this, as people, I have my nephews who are getting ready to go to college next year. I talk to a lot of young people who I mentor, and they're always trying to find out what their career options are. And I think sometimes radio has not been presented as a viable option. And not just radio sales, radio engineering, radio management. And so what I say to them is explore. I said, come intern, come understand what radio is not just programming, but there's so many other aspects to broadcasting in this industry. And I hope, and I'll tell you this, I'm going to do a quick shout out to the Media Sales Institute. They do such an amazing job of providing a curriculum for students so that they understand about radio at an early age. And I say early age in college, but they understand about radio and also present it as an opportunity for a career. And I hope that more and more students see that opportunity.
Well, we thank you
Absolutely.
for your active participation. We thank you for, and your father's on the other side of the camera, so you can't see him. We'd wave him in here, but he would never come. But we thank you for what you all do each and every day in this industry. It matters. Thank you for playing an active role. In the panel I said earlier, some people sign up for things and they sign up just to have their name on the left-hand side of the column on a sheet of paper. And then most people, and I would say at the RAB, it's about the middle of the sheet of the paper. It's like, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? And you're one of those that has raised their hand to say, I want to help and I want to be part of the future and a part of future solutions. And I thank you for that.
Well, Mike, let me tell you, I thank you. And one of the things you said today, you said whenever the industry asks, you got to say yes. And so whenever you ask, we always say yes because of all the amazing work that you and Erica have done with RAB. And I use RAB more often than I'm probably willing to admit.
It's there for you, man.
It's such an amazing resource, and you all are awesome. And I thank you all for continuing to push this industry forward.
It's an amazing team that's sometimes in front of the camera and a lot of times behind it.
I know.
Working for our members and to make it better. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Greg, thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you being on our Radio on Main Street podcast, and we look forward to future conversations.
We are lucky to have broadcasters like Greg and his family in the industry. Well, as you just heard, we are also lucky that they ended up in radio and not TV. Together, Davis Broadcasting is doing what radio broadcasters do best. They're serving their local communities, specifically in the Columbus and Atlanta markets. They are both intentional and committed to doing good in their markets on behalf of their listeners and their local advertisers.
If you'd like to learn more about radio and its many benefits, we invite you to visit us at rab.com, or you can email us directly at askrab@rab.com. Until next time, it's Radio on Main Street.